Hey there, welcome. I'm Amrita from Atria Jewelry, and today we are going to make these beautiful Christmas ornaments. You can decide which kind of crystals and beads you want to use. I've used some faceted round crystals. These are acrylic beads, and then I've used these pointed crystals or acrylic beads in red. Now, you could use all of the same shape. I had a combination of these, so I decided to use them. And then all you will need is 16 gauge copper wire, 10 inches for each ornament, and then some 24 gauge copper wire to do the wrapping. You could go down to 26 or 28, but the thinner the gauge of wire, the more flexible these pieces are. So I like to use a little firmer wire, so I'm using 24 gauge for these. And then you will also need crystals and beads of your choice. Like I said, here I'm using these 4mm crystals, faceted acrylic crystal beads, and then these tri-point is what I think they're called, but I'll link them in the description down below. And I'm using these acrylic beads as well. Tools you will need: a ruler, a flush cutter, a bent nose or chain nose pliers, needle nose or chain nose pliers, so you need 2 pairs of pliers, and then a round nose or a 6-step bail making plier. I like the 6-step looping pliers because then my loops are more consistent, so this is what I'm going to be using today. Optional tools is a steel bench block to texture the wire and work harden it, and a jeweler's hammer or a small ball peen hammer to do the texturing. You could also use a roll of tape or a round bottle to help shape your ornament. To get started, I'm going to start with that 10 inches of 16 gauge copper wire and use my second step on the 6-step looping pliers to make a P-loop at the top of one end of that wire. So this is where the ornament will hang from, and that's the loop I'm making. And then on the other end, I'm going to fold that over gently, and we're going to squeeze that all the way down so it's halfway through to make that half point at the bottom. And I'll lay this ornament off here to the side so you can see what I'm trying to do with this wire. So I want to make this point at the bottom, and then I'm going to use my bent nose pliers to just press that point together. Now I don't want it to touch. You could have it touch. I just want to get it a little bit closer together. And then I'm going to pull that apart. So that's what is going to give it that V shape. And on this end, I'm going to take my pliers and make a small U-shape bend, because this is what will hook onto the other end. And then you can just use your thumb and forefinger to shape this wire into whatever shape you'd like, or this is where you can use your bottle or tape to form that shape. And I am exaggerating the crossover, but then what I'm going to do is pull that back. And so that's the shape I want to get. And once I have the shape kind of figured out, and we can adjust it after we close this loop, I'm going to press this edge in and make sure I run my finger to make sure it's not sharp there. Tuck that in with my pliers, and then give it an additional squeeze on the top just to make sure it holds firmly. Now that's not going to go anywhere. And at this point, you can just spend a little more time shaping your ornament. I quite like how that looks, so I'm going to leave it at that. And here is where I'm going to pull in my steel bench block and hammer and texture this ornament. So I'm gently going to use the weight of the hammer to tap. I'm not going to smash it hard. I just want to get some gentle texture and work hard in the wire. There we have the shape formed, and that's the basis of all your ornaments. And now the fun part, you get to decorate it. I have about 6 inches of the 24 gauge wire here. You can use your scrap wire pieces that are left. We're going to start at one end and wrap about 4 to 5 wraps to get the wires securely attached to the frame. And I'm just beginning the wraps with my fingers, and then once I get close to the end, I'm going to use my pliers to help me roll the wire gently. I'm using coated copper wire, that's why it's a little darker in color, and I'm trying to be very careful that I don't rip off the varnish on it, the polish, which is why I'm trying to be delicate with my tools. But if you're using bare copper wire, that's more forgiving. You can be a little rougher with your tools. So we're going to do 2 diagonal wires here. And so I have 1 wire started. I'll finish that up and then we'll attach the second wire. I'm going to alternate a green, a red, and a white all the way through. I like that traditional combination. It says Christmas colors right there. And because the red is a different shape, I'm just going to put in a red between each of the round crystals. That was a little misshapen, so I'm taking another one. And then we slide that through, and then we need 1 more green crystal. And we have our first diagonal ready. So at this point, I'm going to do another 4 wraps and hold the wire firmly so that I can wrap tight. And then I'm going to snip off the wire with the flush end towards the finished piece. And tuck that in. And then make sure your coils are all lined up. There we go. So you could just stop at that and have a simple ornament, but we're going to add 1 more row. And again, I'm going to hold my wire firmly to the top and wrap 4 to 5 times. There we go. And then I'm going to string on a white crystal to start, since I have the green crystal up there first. And then the red, and then the green, and then the red again. Just gonna check that. I'm going to do one more red and end that row. There we go. So that is the second row. And I'm going to fasten that again by holding the wire firmly and wrapping 4 times. Then I'm going to snip off the wire and tuck that in. There we go. That's a beautiful ornament. Now all that's left to do is take some string, tie the 2 ends in a knot, and then pass that through, and then pass it back through the loop. And there you have a ready to hang ornament. Now if you'd like to see another variation of this, stay tuned, and I'm going to go into that. If you like the video so far, please like, share, and subscribe. And let's continue with another variation. I'm going to use 3 colors of those round faceted beads. And again, these are acrylic beads. So instead of using the tri-shape of the red, I'm just going to use the round ones too. And I'm going to use 2 lengths of 24 gauge 6-inch wire pieces. And we're going to start on one end. I'm going to try to get a cross in there. So what I'm going to do is first attach. My cat thinks it's dinner time, and so he is scratching at the door. So if you hear that, please know that's what it is. He has his dry food out, but in the evening he insists on getting wet food early, and so he pretends like he is starving to death. And just so you know, he isn't. There is dry food out there. There we go. So you'll hear his paws scratching on our wood floors, but luckily he doesn't have his front claws. Okay, so I've attached this side. I'm going to do the same on this side too. Again, 4 wraps. Three, 4, and then I'm going to tuck that in. Bring those wraps together. Tuck that in and pull that firm. So both our wires are attached at the top. And to make sure it stays put, you can just squeeze it gently with your pliers, so it won't move around too much on you. And what we're going to do here is get beads on till the midpoint and then fold the wire over to get a cross in the middle. So I'm going to first string on some red, white, and green. I'm going to do that one at a time on both sides. And maybe this one I'll do green, white, and red, because why not? And then again, red, white, and green. that first side. I like these bead trays because then I can keep my beads separate, and then because of the V shape, the triangle shape, it's easy to pour it back into its bag or case. I have these linked down below too. I use them a lot for my classes as well. So there we go. We have that about midway through. So at this point, I'm going to pass this wire over the one below. So fold that in half like that. And then I'm going to do the same with this wire, fold that in half and bring it back to the other side. So we've crisscrossed the wires. And then now I'm going to string on the rest of the beads. And since I stopped there with red, I'm going to do green, white and red on this side. And then another green, white and red. So it might just be green and white, the last red. So I'm going to wrap that 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And on this side, I'm going to do the red, white, and green. Then again, the red, white, and we might not have space for another green, so I'm going to just stop with the white and then wrap 5 times. 3, 4, and 5. And that's where I'm going to snip off that wire and tuck it in. And we're going to tuck that in. And there we have the cross in the middle right there. And that's another different shape. And you can adjust these to make sure it sits right if you need to. And then again, all that's left to do is pass some knotted ribbon through, pass that knot through the hoop and pull that close. And there we have another ornament. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next 12 days of wire ornaments video. Have a beautiful day.